You're not my son. You're too weak to carry my name. Those words destroyed a boy's childhood. But when the DNA results came back, the man who said them fell to his knees, because the son he rejected was the only one that was truly his. The slap echoed through the marble halls of the Okafor mansion. I said, get out of my sight. Chief Obinna's voice thundered as 12-year-old Chima stumbled backward, his cheek burning red. The boy had only asked to show his father his school report, straight A's, as always. But Chief Obinna didn't care about grades. He cared about strength, about power, about sons who could command a room. Chima was none of those things. Look at you, Obinna sneered, his face twisted with disgust. Crying like a woman. How can you be my son? From the doorway, 17-year-old Daniel watched with a smirk. Tall, broad-shouldered, with their father's sharp jaw and commanding presence, Daniel was everything Chima wasn't. He stepped forward and placed a hand on Obinna's shoulder. Father, let me handle this, Daniel said smoothly. Chima, go to your room. You're embarrassing yourself. Obinna's face softened immediately. He clapped Daniel on the back with pride. Now this is my son. Strong. Decisive. Daniel, come, we have business to discuss. They walked away together, leaving Chima alone in the hallway, tears streaming down his face. Their mother, Grace, appeared from the kitchen. Her eyes were hollow, defeated. She'd stopped defending Chima years ago. What was the point? Obinna never listened. Go wash your face, she said quietly, not meeting Chima's eyes. And stay out of your father's way. That night, Chima lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He was used to this. Used to being invisible. Used to being the disappointment. He'd heard the whispers from relatives, seen the way his father's friends looked at him with pity or confusion. Are you sure that one is yours? They'd joke when Obinna wasn't listening. And each time, Chima wondered the same thing. Years passed. The rejection never stopped. At 14, Chima won a national mathematics competition. Obinna didn't attend the ceremony. At 16, Chima was accepted into the University of Lagos on full scholarship. Obinna threw a party for Daniel, who'd barely scraped into a private university through his father's connections. At 20, Chima graduated top of his class in engineering. Obinna handed Daniel the keys to a new Mercedes and made him managing director of the family's oil supply company. Chima got nothing. Not even a congratulations. Why do you stay? Chima's best friend Victor asked him one evening. They sat outside a beer parlor in Woz, away from the mansion's suffocating walls. Where else would I go? Chima replied, staring into his bottle of Gulda. Anywhere. You're brilliant, Chima. You could work anywhere in the world. But you keep coming back to that house, hoping he'll finally see you. Chima said nothing. Because Victor was right. Some part of him, the wounded 12-year-old boy who'd been slapped for wanting his father's approval, still hoped. Still believed that one day, Obinna would look at him and say, I was wrong. You are my son. But that day never came. Instead, at 23, everything changed. Chief Obinna collapsed during a business meeting. Heart attack. He survived, but the brush with death made him paranoid about his legacy, about his wealth, about what would happen when he was gone. I'm updating my will, he announced at dinner one night. Everything goes to Daniel. The company, the houses, the investments. All of it. Grace's fork clattered against her plate. Even she looked shocked. Obinna, she said carefully. What about Chima? What about Chima? Obinna snapped. That boy has never shown any interest in this family's business. He's always hiding behind books, avoiding responsibility. Daniel is the one who's earned this. Chima stood up slowly, his chair scraping against the floor. May I be excused? He asked, his voice steady despite the storm raging inside him. Sit down, Obinna commanded. I'm not finished. Yes, you are. Chima's voice was quiet but firm. You've been finished with me since I was born. I just didn't want to believe it. He walked out. Behind him, Daniel laughed. Let him go, father. He's always been dramatic. But Grace's eyes followed Chima with something that looked almost like guilt. 2 years passed since Obinna's cruel declaration about the will. Chima had moved out completely, renting a small apartment in Garki. He worked as an engineer at a construction firm, slowly building a life separate from the toxic mansion. He rarely went home only for major holidays, and even then, he'd leave before dinner ended. Daniel had taken over more responsibilities in the family business. He moved through the company like a prince, making decisions with Obinna's blessing, charming clients, closing deals. Everyone knew he was being groomed to inherit everything. Meanwhile, Chima was invisible, forgotten. Until the night everything changed. It was 2 a.m. when Chima's phone rang. Grace's number flashed on the screen. Chima. Her voice was panicked. You need to come to the National Hospital. Now. Your father collapsed. What happened? Major car accident. He lost a lot of blood. They're preparing him for surgery, but just come. Please. Chima's hands were shaking as he dressed and drove through Abuja's empty streets. Despite everything, despite all the pain, the thought of his father dying made his chest tight. When he arrived at the hospital, Grace was in the waiting area, her clothes stained with blood. Daniel sat beside her, his face pale. Where is he? Chima asked. Surgery, Grace said. They said it's critical. He needs blood, a lot of it. A doctor emerged, still in surgical scrubs, his face grave. Family of Chief Okafor? They all stood. We've stabilized him temporarily, but he's lost significant blood. We need a transfusion immediately. What's his blood type? O negative, Grace said quickly. That's rare. Our blood bank is running low on O negative. Do any of you match? I do, Daniel said, standing up. I'm O negative too. Good. Come with me. We'll run a quick screening to confirm compatibility. They disappeared down the corridor. Chima and Grace sat in heavy silence. 20 minutes later, the doctor returned alone. His expression was confused. Where's Daniel? Grace asked. He's in the waiting area on the 3rd floor. The doctor looked at his clipboard. Mrs. Okafor, I need to inform you Daniel's blood type is B positive, not O negative. He's not a compatible donor. Grace's face went white. That's impossible, she whispered. He's always been. Blood types don't change, ma'am. He's definitely B positive. The doctor turned to Chima. What about you, sir? I don't know my blood type, Chima admitted. Let's test you quickly. We're running out of time. Chima followed the doctor to a small room. A nurse drew his blood and within minutes, the results came back. O negative, the doctor said with relief. Perfect match. You can donate. We need to move fast. The next hour blurred together. Chima lay on a bed as his blood flowed through tubes into bags that would save his father's life. The father who'd never wanted him. The father who'd called him weak. Now that father's life depended on him. After the donation, Chima sat in the recovery area, drinking juice, feeling lightheaded. Grace appeared in the doorway. Thank you, she said softly. The surgery was successful. He's going to live. Chima nodded, too tired to speak. Chima. Grace's voice was strained. About Daniel's blood type. What about it? She sat down heavily. His father Obinna is O negative. I'm a positive. If Daniel is B positive. Her voice broke. That's not genetically possible. The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. What are you saying? Chima asked, though he already knew. I'm saying we need to do a DNA test. Tears streamed down Grace's face. Before Obinna wakes up. Before this gets worse. Does Daniel know? The doctor told him about the blood type mismatch. He's been sitting alone ever since, not speaking to anyone. Chima found Daniel on the third floor, staring out a window at the Abuja skyline. His reflection in the glass looked haunted. "You heard?" Daniel asked without turning around. "Yes. It doesn't mean anything. Blood types can be complicated." "Daniel. She wouldn't do that." Daniel's voice cracked. "She wouldn't lie to us for 25 years. She wouldn't. We need to know the truth." Daniel finally turned to face him. His eyes were red. "What if I don't want to know?" "It's too late for that now." The DNA tests were done the next morning, while Obinna was still unconscious in ICU. Grace arranged everything quickly, quietly, desperately. A private lab. Expedited results. No questions asked. 3 days, the lab technician said. "We'll have results in 3 days." Those 3 days were torture. Obinna remained in ICU, stable but weak. He woke up on the second day, confused and in pain. The doctors said he'd make a full recovery, but he needed rest. "Who donated blood?" he asked Grace during one of her visits. She hesitated. "Chima." Obinna's face showed surprise, then something that might have been shame. "Where is he?" "He went back to work. He has a life, Obinna. He doesn't revolve around this family anymore." "I want to see him. To thank him. Later. When you're stronger." But Grace knew that conversation would have to wait until after the DNA results. Because everything was about to change. Daniel didn't go to work. He stayed in the family mansion, locked in his room, refusing to eat. When Grace knocked, he wouldn't answer. Chima went back to his apartment, but he couldn't focus on anything. He kept thinking about the blood. About genetic impossibilities. About the look on his mother's face when she realized what the blood types meant. On the third day, Grace called them both to come to the mansion. Not the hospital. The mansion. "The results are ready," she said simply. They gathered in the mansion's living room, the same room where Obinna had once declared Daniel his sole heir. Grace held the sealed envelope from the DNA lab. Her hands trembled as she placed it on the coffee table. "We should wait for your father," she said quietly. "No." Daniel's voice was harsh. "He's in the hospital. He doesn't need this stress right now. Open it. Daniel. Open it." Grace flinched at his tone. With shaking fingers, she opened the envelope and pulled out 2 documents. Her eyes scanned the first page. Then the second. Her face went from pale to gray. The papers slipped from her hands and fell to the floor. Chima picked them up. He read Daniel's results first. DNA paternity test results. Daniel Okafor and Chief Obinna Okafor. Probability of paternity. 0%. Daniel Okafor is not the biological son of Chief Obinna Okafor. The words swam before his eyes. He looked at Daniel, who had turned away, his shoulders shaking. Then Chima read his own results. DNA paternity test results. Chima Okafor and Chief Obinna Okafor. Probability of paternity. 99.97%. Chima Okafor is the biological son of Chief Obinna Okafor. The room tilted. Chima had to sit down. "Mom." Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. "Mom, tell me this is wrong. Tell me they made a mistake." Grace was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "Tell me," Daniel shouted, whirling to face her. "I can't," she sobbed. "I can't tell you that. So it's true." Daniel's voice broke. "Everything I am, everything I thought I was, it's all a lie. You're still my son." "Whose son am I, Mother? Whose?" Grace covered her face with her hands. "Patrick," she whispered. "Patrick Nwankwo." The name detonated like a bomb. Patrick Nwankwo. Obinna's former business partner. The man who'd betrayed him 26 years ago, stealing company secrets and clients before starting a rival oil supply company. The man Obinna had spent years trying to destroy through the courts and in business. That man was Daniel's father. You had an affair with father's enemy? Chima heard himself ask, his voice distant. It wasn't like that, Grace said desperately. It was before Patrick betrayed us. We were all friends. Obinna was traveling constantly for business. Patrick and we got close. It was only once. I swear it was only once. Once was enough, Daniel said bitterly. When I found out I was pregnant, I didn't know I couldn't be sure. But you suspected, Chima said, the pieces falling into place. You suspected Daniel might not be father's. That's why you suggested testing both of us. You already knew. Grace's silence was confirmation. And all these years, Chima continued, his voice growing harder, you let father reject me. You watched him pour all his love into Daniel, knowing there was a strong chance that Daniel wasn't even his son. You let me suffer. You let me believe I was the problem. I didn't know for sure. You suspected. Chima stood up, anger flooding through him. You could have demanded a test years ago. You could have protected me. But you didn't. Because as long as there was doubt, you could keep your perfect life. Your mansion. Your status. Your favorite son. Don't call him that. That's what he was. You loved Daniel more too. Just like father did. Chima's voice cracked. I was invisible to both of you. And now I know why. You felt guilty. Every time you looked at me, your actual son, you were reminded of your betrayal. So you chose to love the lie instead of the truth. Grace reached for him. Chima, please. Don't touch me. He stepped back. You're just as guilty as he is. Maybe more. Because he didn't know. But you did. You always did. He turned to leave. Where are you going? Grace asked frantically. To the hospital. To tell father the truth. No. Please, not yet. He's too weak. He has a right to know. And for once in my life, I'm going to be the one to tell him something important. Not Daniel. Not you. Me. Obinna was sitting up in bed when Chima arrived. He looked frail in his hospital gown, tubes still attached to his arm. Chima, he said, his voice rough. They told me you saved my life. That your blood. We need to talk. Something in Chima's tone made Obinna go still. What happened? Chima pulled a chair close to the bed and handed Obinna the DNA test results. What is this? Obinna asked, confused. Read it. Obinna's eyes moved slowly across the pages. Chima watched as understanding dawned. Watched as his father's face went through shock, disbelief, denial, and finally horror. This can't be right, Obinna whispered. The blood types didn't match. Daniel couldn't donate to you. They had to test to find out why. Daniel isn't mine. Obinna's voice was hollow. All these years. He's Patrick's son. Yes. And you. Obinna looked at the second report, his hands shaking. You're my only son. My only true son. Yes. The paper fell from Obinna's hands. He stared at Chima with an expression of such anguish that for a moment, just a moment, Chima almost felt sorry for him. The son I rejected, Obinna said, tears filling his eyes. The son I called weak. The son I told I was ashamed of. That son was mine. And the son I loved, the son I gave everything to, wasn't yours, Chima finished. That's right. Obinna's face crumpled. A sound came from deep in his chest, something between a sob and a wail. Tears streamed down his face as he stared at Chima. What have I done? He whispered. My God, what have I done? You destroyed your own son, Chima said quietly. For 25 years, you destroyed me. Every day. Every word. Every look. You broke me piece by piece. And for what? I didn't know. You didn't want to know. You decided I wasn't good enough, and you never looked back. Never questioned it. Never gave me a chance. Chima, please. Obinna reached out with a shaking hand. Please, my son. Don't call me that. Chima's voice was ice. You don't get to call me that. Not after everything. What do you want me to say? Obinna was sobbing now, his whole body shaking. Tell me what to say to make this right. There's nothing you can say. Nothing you can do. You can't give me back my childhood. You can't undo 25 years of rejection and pain. You can't. Chima's voice broke. He stood up quickly, turning away so his father wouldn't see the tears in his own eyes. I have to go, he said. Please don't leave, Obinna begged. Please. I need you. You're my son. My only son. Please. I saved your life, Chima said without turning around. I gave you my blood. I gave you everything I had. Just like I've always done. And it will never be enough for you, will it? It's more than enough. You're more than enough. You always were. 25 years too late. Chima walked out, leaving his father weeping in the hospital bed. As he reached the elevator, his phone rang. It was Daniel. Did you tell him? Daniel asked, his voice flat. Yes. How did he react? How do you think? Silence. Chima, Daniel said finally. What happens now? To us. To this family. I don't know. I don't know if there is an us anymore. We're still brothers. Are we? Chima asked. We don't share blood. We don't share a father. We barely share memories that aren't painful. What makes us brothers, Daniel? We grew up in the same house. Where you were loved and I was hated. Where you got everything and I got nothing. That's not brotherhood. That's just proximity. Chima. I have to go. Tell mother. Chima stopped. Tell her I need time. A lot of time. He hung up and walked out of the hospital, into the Abuja night, feeling more alone than he'd ever felt in his life. The truth was supposed to set you free. But all Chima felt was lost. Obinna was discharged from the hospital 3 weeks after the accident. He came home to an empty mansion. Grace had moved to her sister's house permanently. Daniel refused to visit. The staff moved around quietly, avoiding his eyes. And Chima? Chima hadn't come to see him even once since that night in the hospital. Obinna sat in his study, the DNA results on his desk, reading them over and over as if the words might change. But they never did. Daniel Okafor, not his son. Chima Okafor, his only son. The son he'd rejected. The son he'd broken. The son who'd saved his life with his own blood. His phone rang. Victor's name flashed on the screen. Chima's best friend. Hello. Obinna's voice was hoarse from disuse. Chief Okafor. This is Victor. I'm calling about Chima. Obinna sat up straight. Is he okay? Did something happen? That depends on what you mean by okay. Victor's voice was cold. Physically, he's fine. Emotionally, you destroyed him. I know. Do you? Do you really know what you did to that boy? Victor's voice rose. I found him on the 3rd mainland bridge when he was 16. Did he tell you that? He was going to jump. Because he couldn't live with your rejection anymore. The words hit Obinna like a physical blow. The room spun. What? He whispered. I talked him down. I held him while he cried. I listened to him blame himself for not being good enough for you. And you know what the worst part was? He was convinced it was his fault. That something was wrong with him. I didn't know. You didn't want to know. You were too busy loving Daniel to notice your actual son was dying inside. Victor's voice cracked. I'm calling to tell you stay away from him. He's finally building a life without you. Don't ruin it. He's my son. I have a right. You lost that right 25 years ago. You're nothing to him now. Just a man who shares his DNA. The line went dead. Obinna sat in the silence, Victor's words echoing in his head. The 3rd mainland bridge. 16 years old. Going to jump. And he hadn't even noticed Chima was gone. 3 months passed. Obinna tried calling Chima. The calls went to voicemail. He tried texting. No response. He sent letters to Chima's apartment. They came back unopened. He reached out through mutual acquaintances. They refused to get involved. Chima had cut him off completely. And Obinna couldn't blame him. His business suffered. Without his focus, deals fell through. Partners lost confidence. The company that had been his pride and joy began to crumble. He didn't care. All he could think about was Chima. One evening, desperate and half-mad with guilt, Obinna drove to Chima's apartment. He stood outside the building in the rain, looking up at the window where he knew Chima lived. The lights were on. Chima was home. Obinna climbed the stairs slowly, his heart pounding. He reached the door and knocked. Silence. He knocked again. The door opened. Chima stood there, wearing casual clothes, looking at him with empty eyes. "What do you want?" Chima asked, his voice flat. "To talk. Please. Just 5 minutes." "No. Chima. You need to leave." "I'm not leaving until you hear me. Then I'll call the police." Chima started to close the door. Obinna put his hand against it. "Please. I'm begging you. 5 minutes." Something in his voice, the raw desperation, made Chima pause. He looked at the man in front of him. Soaking wet. Shaking. Broken. This wasn't the proud Chief Obinna who'd ruled his household with an iron fist. This was just a man. A guilty, broken man. 5 minutes, Chima said finally. "Then you leave." He stepped aside. Obinna entered the small apartment, dripping water on the floor. "Sit," Chima said, gesturing to a chair. He sat across from Obinna, arms crossed. "Talk." Obinna opened his mouth, but no words came. What could he say? Where could he even begin? "I'm sorry," he finally managed. "I know it's not enough. I know it doesn't change anything. But I need you to hear it. I'm so sorry." Chima said nothing. "I was wrong about you," Obinna continued, his voice shaking. "From the beginning. I looked at you and saw weakness. But you weren't weak. You were kind. You were gentle. You were everything good that I'd been taught to despise. Is this supposed to make me feel better? No. It's supposed to. I don't know. It's the truth." Obinna wiped his eyes. "Daniel, he was everything I wanted in a son. Strong, confident, bold. And I loved him for it. I poured everything into him. My time, my attention, my pride. While I got nothing. While you got my rejection. My cruelty. My hatred." Obinna's voice broke. "And now I know he wasn't even mine. The son I loved was a lie. And the son I rejected was the only truth I had." "Poetic," Chima said coldly. "But it doesn't change anything." "I know." Obinna looked up, tears streaming down his face. "I know I can't fix this. I can't give you back your childhood. I can't undo the damage. But I need you to understand. I see you now. I see who you really are. And I'm so proud of you it hurts." "Don't." Chima's voice was hard. "Don't you dare tell me you're proud. Not now. Not after everything." "Why not?" "It's true. Because I waited my whole life to hear those words." Chima stood up abruptly, his control breaking. "My whole life. Every achievement, every success, every moment I excelled, I did it hoping you'd finally see me. Finally love me. And you never did. I see you now. It's too late." Chima's voice cracked. "The boy who needed those words is gone. You killed him. You destroyed him. And now you want me to thank you for noticing me? For finally being proud? When it doesn't matter anymore." Obinna stood too, reaching out. "It matters. You matter. You're my son. Don't touch me." Chima stepped back. And don't call me your son. We share blood. That's all. That doesn't make you my father. Then what can I be? Obina's voice was desperate. Tell me what I can be to you. Anything. I'll be anything. Nothing. The word fell like a hammer. You can be nothing to me. Chima, please. Your 5 minutes are up. Get out. I love you. The words burst from Obina's chest. I love you, my son. I know I have no right to say it. I know it means nothing coming from me. But I love you. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to. Get out. Obina flinched at the rage in Chima's voice. He backed toward the door, his hands raised in surrender. Okay. Okay, I'm leaving. He opened the door, then turned back. But I'm not giving up. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I'm going to keep trying anyway. Because you're my son. And I failed you. But I won't fail you again. You already have. Obina walked out, leaving wet footprints on the floor. Chima stood alone in his apartment, shaking with emotions he couldn't name. Anger, pain, grief. And underneath it all, something dangerous. Hope. Despite everything, despite the years of rejection and pain, part of him still hoped. Still wanted his father's love. And he hated himself for it. The news about Daniel's true parentage spread through Abuja like wildfire. Grace became a social pariah. Her affair with Patrick Obina's greatest enemy was the worst kind of betrayal. Women she'd called friends for decades refused to acknowledge her. She stopped going to church, stopped attending social events, became a ghost in her own city. Daniel struggled to find work. Every interview, the same questions. Aren't you Chief Okafor's son? And when he explained when the truth came out, the interviews ended quickly. Nobody wanted to hire the bastard son of an affair, especially not the son of Patrick Nwankwo, who'd betrayed half of Abuja's business community at one point or another. One evening, Daniel showed up at Chima's apartment. We need to talk, he said when Chima opened the door. About what? About everything. Daniel looked exhausted. Can I come in? Against his better judgment, Chima let him in. They sat in awkward silence for a moment. Then Daniel spoke. I lost a job offer today. Third one this month. As soon as they find out who I really am, whose son I am, they suddenly don't need me anymore. I'm sorry. Are you? Daniel looked at him. Because part of me thinks you're enjoying this. Watching me fall. Watching me lose everything like you did. I'm not enjoying anything about this situation. Father's destroyed, Daniel continued. The company's falling apart. His partners are abandoning him. And all he cares about is you. He talks about you constantly. Chima this, Chima that. How proud he is. How wrong he was. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me what to do. Daniel's voice rose. Because I don't know who I am anymore. My whole life, my identity, my name, my family, it was all built on a lie. And I don't know how to be Daniel Nwankwo when I've been Daniel Okafor for 25 years. You think I have answers? Chima asked quietly. I spent 25 years being rejected by my own father, wondering what was wrong with me, wishing I was you. And now I find out I'm his only real son, and I still don't know what that means. Daniel put his head in his hands. We're both lost. Yes. Is there a way forward? For any of us? I don't know. Chima looked at his brother. Were they even brothers anymore? But I know we can't go back. Whatever we were, whatever this family was, it's gone. We have to figure out what comes next. I'm scared, Daniel admitted. For the first time in my life, I'm scared. I don't have father protecting me. I don't have his name opening doors. I'm just nobody. You're not nobody, aren't I? Daniel looked up. Without father's reputation, without his money, without his connections, who am I? You're Daniel. Just Daniel. And maybe that's enough. The words hung between them. Words Chima had never heard when he needed them. But maybe it wasn't too late for Daniel. I don't know how to be just Daniel, Daniel said quietly. Neither did I, Chima replied. But you figure it out. One day at a time. 6 months after that meeting, Chima's life had found a new rhythm. He'd been promoted again at work. He'd moved into a nice 2-bedroom apartment in Maitama. He'd even started dating someone, a kind, patient woman named Amara who worked in marketing. On the surface, he was fine. Better than fine. But Victor could see through it. You're still not sleeping, Victor said one Saturday afternoon. They were watching football at Chima's apartment. I sleep enough. Nightmares again? Chima didn't answer, which was answer enough. The nightmares had started after the restaurant meeting. Images of his childhood, twisted and dark. His father's face, full of disgust. Daniel's laughter. His own younger self, crying, always crying. You need closure, Victor said gently. Real closure. Not this half-finished thing you're doing. I closed that door. Did you? Victor muted the TV. Or did you just slam it shut and hope the noise would stop? What do you want me to do, Victor? Forgive him. Pretend 23 years of abuse didn't happen. No. But I want you to finish the conversation. You left him crying in that restaurant, and part of you is still standing in that doorway, watching him break down. Maybe that's what he deserves. Maybe. But it's not what you deserve. Victor leaned forward. You deserve peace, Chima. And you'll never have it until you say everything you need to say. It took another month before Chima was ready. This time, he called Obinna himself. They met at the mansion, the place where it all began. The house felt different now. Emptier. Most of the staff had been let go. Daniel's room was cleared out. Grace's belongings were gone. It was just Obinna, rattling around in this massive house, alone with his regrets. Thank you for coming, Obinna said. He looked even worse than before. Thinner. Older. Broken. I didn't come for you, Chima said. I came for myself. They sat in the living room, the same room where Obinna had announced he was giving everything to Daniel. The same room where the DNA results had destroyed everything. I need to understand something, Chima began. When you looked at me when I was a child, what did you see? Obinna was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, I saw weakness. I saw everything I'd been taught to despise. Gentleness. Sensitivity. Kindness. Obinna's voice was thick with shame. I saw a boy who would never survive in this world. And instead of protecting you, teaching you, helping you become strong while keeping your good heart, I tried to break you. You succeeded. No. Obinna looked up, meeting Chima's eyes for the first time. No, I didn't. Because you're still here. You survived me. You thrived despite me. You became the man I should have taught you to be, all on your own. That doesn't make what you did acceptable. I know. Nothing makes it acceptable. Obinna's hands twisted together in his lap. But I need you to know I see you now. I see who you really are. And I'm so proud of you it hurts. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. Because, Chima's voice broke. Because I waited my whole life to hear those words. And now that you're saying them, they don't mean anything. They're just empty. Tears rolled down Obinna's cheeks. Then what can I give you? What words would mean something? Chima was quiet for a long time. Then he said, the truth. Not apologies. Not praise. Just the truth. What truth? Did you ever love me? Even a little? Even once? The question hung between them, brutal and necessary. Obinna's face crumpled. I don't know, he whispered. I don't know if what I felt was love or just obligation, duty. The knowledge that you were supposed to be mine, even though I couldn't see it. The honesty was like a knife to the chest. But it was what Chima needed. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for not lying. But I can tell you this," Obinna continued, his voice gaining strength. "I love you now. I know it's too late. I know it doesn't change anything. But every time I see you, even when you're angry, even when you're hurting me with your words, I feel such overwhelming love and regret that I can barely breathe." "That's not enough." "I know it's not." Silence fell again. "I'm not going to give you what you want," Chima said finally. "I'm not going to forgive you. I'm not going to say everything's okay and play happy family." Obinna nodded, accepting it. "But," Chima continued, "I'm also not going to carry this hate for the rest of my life. Because you're right, it would poison everything. My career, my relationships, my future. And I refuse to let you take anything else from me." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm letting go. Not for you, for me. I'm letting go of the anger and the pain and the need for you to fix something that can't be fixed." Chima stood up. "You can't give me back my childhood. You can't undo the damage. But I can choose not to let it define me anymore." "Does that mean?" Obinna didn't dare finish the question. "It means we'll never be father and son the way we should have been. That door is closed forever." Chima's voice was firm but not cruel. "But maybe years from now, if you prove that you've really changed, maybe we can be two people who share blood and a history. Not family. Not yet. But not enemies either." It wasn't forgiveness. But it was a beginning. Obinna's face showed a mixture of grief and hope. "I'll take it. Whatever you're willing to give, I'll take it." Chima walked to the door. Then he paused and turned back. "One more thing," he said. "Daniel. He's suffering too. And unlike me, he didn't choose any of this. He's lost everything. His identity, his father, his future. He needs you. He's not my son. Neither was I, according to you. But that didn't stop you from having a responsibility to me." Chima's eyes were hard. "He's a victim in this too. Don't make him pay for Grace's mistakes." "I don't know if I can. Try. Because if you don't, then you haven't changed at all. You're just replacing one rejected son with another." With that, Chima left the mansion. This time, he didn't feel empty. He felt lighter. 2 years passed. Chima and Amara got engaged. Chima invited Obinna to the ceremony. Obinna came but sat in the back, understanding his place. After the ceremony, they spoke briefly, stiffly. But it was something. Daniel was there too. He'd rebuilt his life, slowly gotten a job in sales, started therapy, began the long process of figuring out who he was beyond Obinna's shadow. He and Chima weren't close, but they were cordial. Sometimes, they'd grab a beer and talk about nothing important. Baby steps. Grace reached out through a mutual friend, asking to meet. Chima declined. That wound was still too raw. Maybe one day. But not yet. Obinna changed, slowly. He reached out to Daniel, helping him financially while respecting his independence. He attended therapy himself, working through his own childhood trauma. He volunteered at a youth center, mentoring young boys, trying to be the father to others that he'd failed to be to his own son. And once a month, like clockwork, he'd send Chima a text message. "Thinking of you. Proud of you. Love you." Chima rarely responded. But he never blocked the number either. 5 years after the DNA test, Chima and Amara had their first child. A son. They named him Victor, after the friend who'd saved Chima's life on that bridge. Obinna asked if he could meet his grandson. Chima said no. Not yet. Another year passed. Then another. When little Victor was 3 years old, he asked about his grandfather. Amara looked at Chima, leaving the decision to him. Chima thought about it for a long time. Thought about cycles of rejection and what they do to a child. Thought about second chances and whether anyone truly deserves them. Finally, he made the call. "Would you like to meet your grandson?" he asked Obinna. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, a sound that might have been a sob. Yes, Obinna whispered. Yes, please. They met at a park in Abuja. Obinna brought toys, too many toys, nervous and eager to please. Little Victor, shy at first, eventually warmed up to his grandfather's gentle voice and patient manner. Chima watched them together, his heart a complicated knot of emotions. This wasn't forgiveness. Forgiveness was still a distant shore he wasn't sure he'd ever reach. But it was grace. And grace, Chima had learned, was sometimes enough. As the sun set over Abuja, turning the sky orange and gold, Obinna looked at Chima over his grandson's head. His eyes were wet, but his smile was genuine. Thank you, he mouthed. Chima nodded once. A acknowledgement. Not acceptance, but acknowledgement. Some relationships, once broken, can never be fully repaired. But sometimes with time, effort, and grace they can be rebuilt into something different. Something new. Something that, while never replacing what was lost, creates its own kind of beauty. 10 years after the DNA test, Chima sat in his office at the engineering firm now as the managing director. On his desk was a photo of his family, Amara, Victor, now 8, and their daughter Sarah, 5. His phone buzzed. A message from Obinna. Victor's football game today at 3 p.m. Will you be there? Chima smiled. Wouldn't miss it. They weren't father and son. Not in the traditional sense. The wounds had scarred over, but they hadn't disappeared. Chima didn't call him father. He didn't introduce Obinna as dad to his children. But Obinna was grandpa. Present. Patient. Trying every day to be better. And for Chima that was enough. Because healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about refusing to let the past erase your future. Wow. This story just took us on an emotional journey. From rejection to pain to grace, this is what real healing looks like. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button right now and subscribe to Folktales by Inaya. Drop a comment. Could you have given Obinna a second chance? Or would you have walked away forever? What story should we tell next? Share this video with your family and friends. Turn on post notifications so you never miss our powerful stories. Thank you for watching, and remember, grace can create something beautiful even from broken pieces. God bless you.